What's up, YouTubians? Gary, VW Jawbreaker. Welcome back to another day. It's actually a beautiful day for once here in Florida. It's actually been close to 90 lately, and well, we got a couple degree cooler weather. So we're gonna get crack-a-lacking out here in the garage and get back on Aaron's engine build. So if you remember the last video, we actually had an issue. We did a full teardown. I'll link it below in the description where, well, we had issues with that engine. It was a 1679, which means it had 88 slip-ins, had a C25 cam, single ports, a nice motor until that issue happened. But things happen, right? So what we did is we went ahead and jumped up to a 1776 single port. Same C25 cam, same lifters, because I marked them in their proper holes, right? So here's where we're at. No, I didn't video, and the reason I did not video is because I was actually pretty sick. So I came out here, just did some work, got the short block together. So we've got, again, the same cam, same lifters, and the proper holes. Everything was marked. We got all of our clearances done. Everything is squared away. And to be honest with you, we have gone nuts with paperwork on this one. Just measuring everything, right? So we know exactly what everything is. Documentation. So same crank, same rods, and these things actually float really nice. They drop really nice. I mean, that's just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Gotta love it. So today, well, we've got everything laid out. We've got our cylinder heads put back together. We did a slight porting on those. Had to have the cylinders opened up from accepting stock pistons to 90.5 for the 1776. So we got those all put back together. We got the valves lapped back in. I double checked our pressures on our valve springs, which is an easy way to do. I learned this from Easy Jeezy years ago, but I actually put a scale right here, all right? Put an old valve in here and just cranked it down without things getting in the way. I actually just sat there and just cranked it down until I started seeing everything move, and then I was able to record what the valve pressure was in pound. We have our cylinders out. We've got our cylinders marked. Our jugs are lapped to the heads. Our rings are gapped on every single one for every cylinder. All of that squared away. And the issue I ran into was, well, we did a mock-up, and I figured out what the compression was going to be on the motor, and it was just way too high. So I had to order in some cylinder shims. These are 40,000 shims. Again, I've got a video down below, I'll link it, on how to determine your compression ratio and also how to correct it. So I'll link those down below. There's going to be a lot of links in this video, so make sure you check that stuff out. But we're just going to go ahead and get crack-a-lacking today. Go ahead. That was interesting. We're going to go ahead and get everything mocked up just to make sure everything's correct, and we'll go ahead and go from there. So, enough jibber jabber. Let's get crack-a-lacking. Let's get some work done on his engine. All right, we're going to go ahead and mock up this side here. So first we have our spacer. So we'll go ahead and get that set in. Normally you want to set that on your jug itself, but for this situation, since we're just mocking it up, it's no big deal. We're not putting wrist pins in because, or I'm sorry, little Jesus clips. We're not putting those in because, again, we're just mocking things up here to double check our corrected deck height. All right. Adapter on, washers, like washers. Again, just need to kind of torque it down. No need to get too excessive. We had 55 thousandths of deck last time. We're looking for 90 to 95 this time to get us in the proper compression ratio, because the cylinder itself and the head is actually a pretty low CC. So that's 50. All right, here is 90 thousandths stacked together. So we're going to put that in there. Rotate the crank around till we get it right there at the highest point. That's actually really good. Nice and slick. Let's go 92 thou. perfect top dead center. That's pretty good. This would be 94 thou. Ooh, really tight. Can't even get them all in there. All right, so hold on, let me push them together a little better. That's right about there. So we're right about 94 thousandths. Perfect. So this can go ahead and come off. We'll double check the other side just to verify both sides are the same, even though I know they are. I'll bring it back over to the bench. All right, so when I did the deck height before, I found that both sides were identical. Actually, I think they were 1/1000ths off, which not going to affect your compression ratio. So these are supposed to be 40,000 shims, but if you mic them, they come in right about 38 thousandths. So that one's at 38, that one's right at 38, that one's right at 38, and that one's right at 38. So they're all the same, so that means that's why we're able to get 94 thousandths on our total deck height. So if you go to CB Performance's website, they have an engine calculator. We'll click that, and first off, the SCAT C25 cam calls for 7.5 to 8.0 to 1 compression ratio. So we have our engine bore at 90.5. Our stroke is a stock stroke of 69 millimeters. Our deck height, we just measured 0.094. Our head cc's, kind of small, but they're single port, 49 cc's. So now we want to figure out our compression, and the compression actually comes in right there at 7.9 to 1, which is just below the manufacturer recommendation of 8.0 to 1 max. Their suggestion again is 7.5 to 8. We're at 7.9 for a 1776 cc build. So there we go. We are good to go. We are within what the manufacturer recommends. No need going hotter on this one. So now it's time to get crack-a-lacking and get this thing put together. Verify our rings are offset for the initial install. My other one took a crap, so we're gonna have to use this one. Just till that shows. Move up our wrist pin a little bit. Make sure all the plastic's off. And push it all the way in for right now because we've got to go ahead and set our spacers on there. Brake clean in a rag. Get all the oils off of the spacers. So that way your silicone or sealant of choice sticks. And we'll go ahead and run a small bead of silicone around. We'll take one of our spacers, line it up properly, so they do kind of only go on one way. There we go. Same thing. All right, that one's done. Let's knock out the other one real fast. And we're going to set them both on, and we're going to set the head on, get it torqued down. All right, so I've already got my clip on that side, the retainer clip, everything's lubed up, ready to go there. Now, we'll drop it on for the final time. Make sure you're real careful putting that clip in that you don't drop it down in the engine. You want to make sure that it's fully seated into the groove. Good. Beautimous. We'll go ahead and turn it over. The other cylinder up. See, that's why you normally push it this way and have your clip on the inside. That way you can actually get to everything. So if not, good luck. There we go. It's not all the way in yet. There it goes. You can actually rotate it because it's in the groove. We're good. And of course, make sure the arrow on the top of the piston always points towards the flywheel. Don't forget that step. It's like you should never forget your deflector tins. Never ever forget themins. Oh yeah. Now we've got our push rods. We've got our seals on them. We want to make sure that we put the seam side facing up towards the top of the motor. How can you tell if you painted them? Well, sometimes the seam still shines through, or if you look right there, you can see the seam right there. I don't put any kind of sealant on these. Put just a little bit of oil on them just to help them slide into place. That's really all they need. And this is mucho easier doing it on an engine stand than the last time I did it on the Baja when it was just sitting in the car. I like to expand those out just a little bit on the bellows on one side just to help make sure we got good seal. Some people say you need to do it, some people say you don't. I say pick your poison, do what works for you, because there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. So all my seams are facing upwards, good and upwards. Next up we got our washers. Go ahead and put our washers on. You know what, let's move you so you can see better. Don't look at that. Here, look here. There you go. So we got our washers on here. The inside ones, I like to put a little silicone. Or you can use aviation sealant, or you can use, I don't know, whatever the heck you want to use. Pick your poison. You don't need much. Just a little bit to seal. And of course there's a flat side and a round side of the washer. Those are directional. Change my mind. Again, you're barely putting any on there. You don't need much. Just enough to help prevent some oil seeping. Of course, now you got your nuts. These are 8mm studs, so they're a different torque spec than your 10mm studs. Still have an initial torque pattern, and then you have your final torque pattern. And the best thing to do with that, in my opinion, is take your time. Don't need to rush this. There's no need to rush it. Just do a quick little rundown, then we'll go ahead and go over it and torque it. I like to start at 12. All right, there's your initial torque. Go ahead and go to final torque. All right, heads are torqued. Now, just duplicate that on the other side. there we go. Long block is together. Everything worked out really well. Everything's torqued down. I like to go ahead and mark the case, just that way you know exactly what it is. How else are you going to find out what it is without having things written down? I mean, you could, but you got to tear it down, right? So at least that's looking good. We've got the next big thing is go ahead and put the valve rockers on and go ahead and figure out our valve geometry. We're going to do that by using a dial indicator. We'll show you that along with our push rods. I know about what it's going to be. I need to verify it though. Normally you would not already have your push rod tubes installed if you were doing this on something a little bit bigger of a build, but we should be really close. And we'll go over that here in a minute. So we'll just go ahead and get crack-a-lacking on this. Get this next portion done. Now we'll go ahead and watch your needle, count how many times it goes around, get our total lift. So that's 1, 2, 3. And she maxes out right about there. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 58 thousandths. So 358 thousandths. So our half lift is going to be 179 thousandths. So I'll go ahead and bring that back around to 0. 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So there's our half lift. There we go. I've gotten really good at dragging around a dead camera, but we put a pulley on it in the tin with 2 little nuts back there. I mean, it's pretty simple, self-explanatory, right? Oil cooler, quick little tip. Only calls for like 5 foot-pounds, don't quote me, but it's very light. Snug them up. They don't need a ton of pressure. It's not like you got to torque those things to 3 bazillion foot-pounds or anything, but plugs are in it, it's closed up, everything's ready to go. So pretty much what's next for this on next video is we're going to get the tins on it, carbs on it. We'll go ahead and fire her up, get her tuned in. Don't really need to do a cam break-in since it's the same cam and lifters, but we're still gonna do just kind of a little one. Let her warm up real good, check oil pressures, all that fun stuff. So stick around. Appreciate you being here. Be kind to one another and be good.